Not moving towards sustainability is no longer an option. While the government has laid out green policy initiatives in Budget 2022 and the 12 Malaysia Plan, many challenges are still up ahead in moving the nation towards environmental, social and governance or ESG standards across all sectors. Here to discuss more is ISIS's Alizan Mahadi.
Challenges, of course, remains in translating it for uptake and implementation across the industry. Firstly, in the context of Malaysia, in particular, SMEs make up more than 97% of firms and companies in Malaysia. And in this context, for example, SMEs are not mandated to report ESG because they are not listed under Bursa, where publicly listed companies are mandated to report. So the coverage of adoption of SDGs is still very low. A study by EY demonstrated also the quality of the reporting, of the disclosures are still also very low, and therefore there still needs to be improvements in terms of reporting ESG within the country.
Global companies are adopting ESG and promoting sustainability with stricter requirements and standards imposed. Malaysian businesses, he says, have no choice but to rapidly embark on their sustainability transformation.
Climate change is real. The physical risk and impact is real, and therefore all parts of the society, including businesses, have to respond to the impacts of climate change. But perhaps more immediately is the transition risk. And this is where policies, standards, and technologies, as I mentioned, they are shifting towards sustainability, and this will cause a shift towards supply chains, towards investment trends, and so on. And in the context of Malaysia, this is extremely important because Malaysia is a small and open economy. We are a trading nation. We are an export-oriented economy. And this transition, this global transition, will have a major impact in Malaysia. Bank Negara, for example, estimated that Malaysia stands to lose about $65 billion worth of annual export revenue if we do not embrace this transition towards a low carbon and resilient economy. So it is not a choice whether we talk about it in terms of physically or whether we talk about it in terms of transition risks, in terms of policies and technologies. All firms will need to adopt this.
Now, what measures can be taken to push forward the sustainability agenda across all sectors? Alizan Mahadi said that focus should be on value creation.
Especially in the context of Malaysia, the government itself is a major consumer, and therefore through procurement, the government should create the domestic market for ESG adoption. And this can be done through, there is already an existing government green procurement initiative, where in the latest data in 2019, about 21% of government green procurement in selected services and products were procured under the government. But I think this can be expanded further. This should be increased further, and this will create the market, at least the domestic market for ESG. Sectors and especially large companies can also play a major role, especially large corporations that require for their ESG compliance to mandate the whole supply chain to also be compliant. And this will also transform the landscape, which requires perhaps compliance from SMEs as well.
He also cautioned companies against greenwashing in their attempt to meet ESG regulatory compliance.
I think moving forward beyond that, the government and every sector and every player should aim for value creation. Now, when we talk about ESG, it's mainly about compliance. It's mainly about meeting certain standards. And as I said, the goalposts are moving, and we are getting more and more stricter. The industry is looking at more details to make sure that we avoid greenwashing, ESG washing, and therefore every sector, every initiative should genuinely look at what is the value proposition, what is the value created towards sustainability, and that will ensure a more resilient model for the future, both in terms of businesses as well as sustainability as a whole.